For every time that Gumball was a sweet little angel, there was a time where he went out to make someone's life miserable. Actually, maybe a few more times. You get the point. So today, I've broken his savagery down to 7 levels, from petty insults at 1% all the way up to 100%, where he has destroyed people's lives just to get his way, starting all the way down at 1%. And for this, let's take a look at the episode The Roots. The Roots is an episode that has tugged at the heartstrings of anyone who loved Darwin. The plot started with the family trying to have a nice evening out, but taking a pet fish turned brother to a pet store is never going to end well. The Wattersons are convinced that Darwin is depressed because he misses the ocean. Instead of just talking to him, they decide to force him back to his natural state. This leads to the family trying to reconnect Darwin to his aquatic roots through increasingly insane methods. Later on in the episode, they come to the conclusion that the only way to make Darwin happy is sending him back to nature. They drive him to a pond, crying the whole way there. Gumball often has zero regard for anything that isn't him. Although he did all of this out of the care for his brother, he plays things off as he's doing Darwin a big favor. But that was just one example of how much of a savage Gumball can be. Up next on the 1% level, we have Gumball being a hater as his natural instinct. In this episode, his only goal is to remind his sister Anais that she is socially unlikable. We see this playing out in The Guy, where Anais is on a desperate hunt to find a friend. After a whole morning of attempting to make friends in her own way, she comes back to Darwin and Gumball. Feeling defeated, she tells them how hard it is, but then spots Josh sitting on a bench. Before she can try anything, Darwin provides some encouragement, which Anais took.
Why don't you just say hi?
The two quickly become best friends. Most brothers would be happy for their little sister, or at least indifferent, but Gumball isn't most brothers. When Anais runs back to the boys, beaming with joy and shouting that she made a new friend, he simply could not believe anyone wanted to hang out with her.
Did you see that? He wants to be my friend!
Great! How much did he charge you?
What? Nothing. That's weird.
Yeah, must be after something.
Anais tries to defend her new friendship, but Gumball continuously refuses to believe that anyone normal would want to befriend her, and goes to extreme lengths to prove this later in the episode. If you already thought that Gumball is being dismissive towards their friendship now, then the 50% savage moments I have for you in this video will leave you in complete disbelief. But first, we have to move on to this next moment in the 1% category. In The Faith, Gumball and Darwin run into a group of scouts who went rogue after their scoutmaster quit and took all of their merit badges without actually earning any of them.
Shame they didn't earn their self-defense badges either.
By this point, the line between sarcasm and physical harm was faded. We will soon enter the next savage level and see Gumball has done far worse than beat up a group of scouts to make a joke about it. And the thing is, Gumball knows exactly how savage he is. Like we see in the next 1% moment, in The Rival, where he and Darwin try to get rid of their newborn baby sister. Darwin's soul flies upwards out of his body, nearly being hit by a truck. And then Gumball hits him with the following line.
That was terrifying.
Yeah, well, at least your soul was going upwards.
Just like Gumball will also be aware about his soul going down to this next category, the 5% savage level. And here, his savageness starts turning into more than just sarcasm or harmful words. As in The Candidate, the kids get locked inside the school while the temperature keeps rising. Anais tries to take charge, but while she's clearly the most competent person in the room, the students start to reject her and elect Gumball as their leader instead. He's charismatic and confident, but really, he has absolutely no idea what's going on. He denies that the temperature is even rising, while his own head catches fire. And when things inevitably start falling apart, Gumball gives the following speech to quote-unquote encourage his people.
Maybe what you need is a common enemy. Someone to take the blame for the greater good. And it is my duty to inform you that enemy is Anais.
What?
What? You just nodded. nodded.
He threw his own sister under the bus just to hold on to power. In the next 5% savage moment, he doesn't just hold on to power. He wants to take other people's belongings. In the console, Elmore has turned into an RPG video game, and Gumball treats it like one. He walks into Mr. Robinson's house while breaking pots looking for loot. He then takes his VHS player, steals his wallet, and then says he'll sleep in his bed. All while the old man is forced to smile and watch it happen. Gumball simply doesn't care because that's what the game said he could do. But this isn't the only time that Gumball thought it was okay to ruin someone's day, or even life, just because he can. Because his next target on the 5% level is Larry, which came in the episode The Stars. After seeing that he offers quote-unquote free stuff when his customers are unsatisfied, Gumball's savage scheming ability was at work yet again. Larry, being the hard worker that he is, was just doing his job. When Gumball decided he did not want to pay for his meal today, Gumball threatened Larry with not what he needs the most, his good reputation, but by saying he'll leave a bad review. This would essentially ruin Larry's business, which he had given up everything for. So he was forced to give in, forced to be a bystander while losing money that he worked so hard for every day. If Gumball had stopped there, maybe it wouldn't have been that savage. But no, he just had to keep going. Knowing that Larry works so many places in Elmore, he abused it again and again, potentially ruining his career. But Larry isn't the only adult in Elmore who was targeted by Gumball's shenanigans. We see Gumball targeting people without warning yet again in the next 5% moment in the episode The Cycle, where Gumball puts his target on Tobias's dad after learning that he bullied his dad back in school. Though it may appear that Gumball was just trying to stand up for his dad at first, he took things way too far when he decided to leave a fake check for Harold to find. Upon finding the check, he thinks that he's now a billionaire, so he decides to make some drastic changes to his life. With his ecstatic mood, Gumball does not try to stop him at all when he first quits his job. Then he goes as far as replacing his wife with a new trophy wife. And as if that wasn't enough, he blows up his house to replace it with a statue of himself, which he obviously cannot afford. So once he does this, he and his family, including Gumball's friend Tobias, will be homeless. And even this doesn't make Gumball stop. Making his friend's family homeless for a revenge plot isn't even anywhere near Gumball's worst moment. Gumball's savagery has no boundaries. But how far will he really go? Well, we'll see as we move on to the next level, 10% savagery, where we see Gumball do some crazy things to Banana Joe. In the banana, Gumball kicks off a whole revenge war with Banana Joe over a chewed up pen. As usual, Gumball goes to extreme lengths to get his revenge. He glues Banana Joe's hands to a tub of glue, causing him to rip his own eye off. Later in the episode, there's a lot of back and forth attempts at getting revenge. Joe finally snaps and charges at Gumball and Darwin out of rage after they chewed up his great-grandfather's antique fountain pen, which was used to sign the immigration registry by his ancestors.
It's the pen that Obadiah Banana, the founder of our family, used to sign the registry when he first came to this country.
Instead of just walking away when Banana Joe falls while charging, or even better, maybe helping him, Gumball has the brilliant idea to beat themselves up, so when Banana Joe wakes up, they tell him that he beat him up. Joe believes it and apologizes to them. And what's the worst part of this whole thing? The original chewed up pen that started it all was Gumball's pen, and he chewed it the entire time. This is really what seals it as savage. The entire war was his fault from start to finish, and he never admitted it. But Gumball's savagery isn't always about starting wars. Sometimes it's about his complete lack of shame. While most people would be humiliated by failure, Gumball simply does not care, as we see in this next 10% moment. In the grades, Gumball fails a test and gets sent back to kindergarten. Instead of being upset about it, he loves it. Painting, playing basketball with toddlers, and zero responsibility, which means the perfect life for Gumball Watterson. Meanwhile, Miss Simeon gets called into Principal Brown's office, and she's one student short of her quota. She needs to get Gumball back by Friday or she's fired. So she has to go back to kindergarten and beg for him to return. The moment that Gumball finds out that she'll lose her job, his entire reason for staying changes. It stops being about painting and basketball, and he stays now specifically because he wants to get Miss Simeon fired. She literally had to cry to guilt him into coming back.
I'm crying.
It looks like you're trying to lay an egg with your face. Please stop. Stop it! Okay, fine, I'll come back.
And he did not want to come back until he saw her tears. The next savage moments don't just extend to people close to Gumball, they affect the entire world of Elmore. In the chat, the Watterson kids get a check from their grandfather, and they each imagine what they will do with this large sum of money, $5,000. Gumball imagines becoming the president of the United States. His robot servants rebel, and rather than dealing with it, President Gumball sits behind the Oval Office desk, puts on a JFK accent, and goes,
My fellow Americans, I think we all know where this is going, so let's just skip to the end.
That is by far not the only time that Gumball would literally rather watch the entire world burn than stop being lazy. In fact, his laziness is only matched by his greed. Another example we see of this is in the Scab, where Gumball, Darwin, and Carrie accidentally summon a real demon named Gargoth, who threatens to destroy the entire world. The only way to stop him is to feed him all of their Halloween candy. They throw everything they have in his mouth, but one lollipop misses though, and Gumball hides it, fully aware of the fact that it's crucial if they want to stop the world from being destroyed. With no candy left, Carrie had no choice but to sacrifice herself, agreeing to become Gargoth's bride and live in the underworld forever. Darwin is horrified, and Gumball still has the lollipop in his hand. However, he refuses to save the day until the very last moment, when he has no other choice. You would probably think that Gumball couldn't go farther than this. Well, you're in for a surprise, as the next savage moments in the 25% category are where he truly started taking his savageness out on others with personal attacks. Who's the first victim of 25% savage Gumball? Well, it's Carmen. In the best, Carmen keeps correcting Gumball's behavior until he's had enough of it. And you do not want to annoy 25% savage Gumball. He will destroy you. He gets Darwin to plug him into Rambler, a Tumblr parody, where he learns, and I quote, the martial arts of the social justice warrior. The next day at the cafeteria, when Carmen suggests whole grain bread, Gumball hits back. Carmen tries to defend herself, but Gumball continuously shoots her down with more savage comebacks. He weaponized social justice to bully her into silence, and it worked. But his savage actions reach beyond bullying now. He will not stop there. The next moment in the 25% category is another repeat victim of Gumball, except now he takes it a step further. In the menu, he goes as far as torturing one of the kindest and hardest working people in Elmore, Larry, as if bullying him into giving away free stuff wasn't enough. Gumball, Darwin, and Richard kidnap Larry in the middle of the night, tie him to a chair, and interrogate him for as little as the secret Joyful Burger menu. Larry refuses to talk since he's loyal to the business. Then they bring out Bergie, the Joyful Burger mascot, and start torturing it in front of him, forcing him to watch, showing photos of Bergie eating competitor food, threatening him. And then Richard snaps one of Bergie's fingers off, deep fries them, and eats them one by one. Larry breaks and starts talking, but Gumball literally tortured and traumatized a man over a burger with a family. But Gumball doesn't stop with putting Larry through such experiences. He knows no limits when it comes to torture and selfishness. He'll even put his own siblings through a traumatizing experience without a second thought in the last savage moment of the 25% level. Earlier in the console, Gumball and his siblings already survived being trapped inside of a cursed Game Boy parody that turned all of Elmore into an RPG, an adventure where losing means dying in real life. They fought through it together, defeated the final boss, and freed the entire town eventually. Darwin and Anais are relieved. It's finally over. And then Gumball looks at the screen, forcing his siblings to go through the entire game again, where their lives are literally at stake, is insane. But now we've reached the halfway point, 50% savagery, and things are about to start getting absolutely just diabolical here. In the first 50% savage moment, Gumball has gone truly insane, because he gets so jealous that he goes as far as attempted murder now. And this is where his savageness reaches a point of no return, and it's clear that he cannot be saved anymore. In the flower, Gumball sees Leslie hanging out with his crush, Penny. He gets consumed by jealousy, which literally manifests as a demon entity, jealousy, that possesses him. Possessed Gumball becomes increasingly more savage throughout the episode, starting to verbally destroy Leslie. A bit later, he goes much further, gluing Leslie to a park bench and dumping insects on him so that he'll be ruined forever. It's even revealed in this episode that he wasn't trying to frame Leslie either. He was planning on murdering him, as seen by the weed killer and herbicide products found in Gumball's locker. And this wasn't even his only attempted murder. And for that, let's go back to his disbelief of anyone wanting to be Anais's friend. In the parasite, Anais makes a new friend named Jody. Gumball reads Anais's diary and decides that Jody must be a parasite taking advantage of her, and lands on what he considers to be the only logical solution, poisoning her sandwich at lunch. When all the sandwiches are swapped, he won't admit it. Like the savage he is, he'll risk everyone's life, including his own, just to not have to admit what he's trying to do. The twist, his father ate the sandwich and is now dying because of his actions. Not only did Gumball's dad almost die because of it, but when he was confronted about the sandwich, Gumball's reaction was also this.
What do you think you're doing?
The only sensible thing. Poison the sandwich so your so-called friend gets the message that... Okay, now that I said it out loud, I realize it sounds kind of wrong.
You have to realize that this is only 50% savage Gumball, and he has already attempted murder twice. It doesn't stop here though. As for our final moment in the 50% category, he ends up doing something just as bad. In the test, an online quiz labels Gumball as a loser. He tries something different, surpass every one of his natural instincts. No sarcasm, no insults, no negativity. His held back venom literally manifests as a glowing green acid, trying to claw its way out of his mouth. Meanwhile, Tobias hijacks the entire episode and turns it into a cheesy sitcom where he's the main character. Gumball holds it together through all of it, until Tobias starts dating Penny in the sitcom. Now, Gumball can no longer hold back. Tobias wakes up in a hospital room, and Gumball is there, ready to literally burst. Instead of vomiting all the acid out towards anything but Tobias, he aims straight for his face. So, attempted murder and assault, surely it can't get much worse than that, right? Well, let's take a look at how Gumball helps his friends and family. For that, we need to move on to the 69% category. In the petals, Leslie's petals start falling off, and he panics about losing his looks. Gumball and Darwin decide to help him. Their first quote-unquote great idea is to overload him with accessories to hide his looks. They went so far that Leslie couldn't even breathe because he had so much weight on him. As if nearly killing their classmate wasn't enough, they decided to host a gardening makeover show later in the episode where the situation got much worse. They don't give Leslie advice anymore. They don't try to find a good solution either. They chase Leslie through the city into a parking garage, while wielding gardening shears, threatening to behead him. Eventually, they chase him down and are with him in the basement, convincing him that his head would grow back if they removed it. They did not mention one thing though.
And when will we see our pretty new flower grow, Gumball? When spring comes back in about 6 months.
For the next moment in the 69% category, we need to go to the episode The Parking. The Watersons spend the entire episode deliberately hunting for a parking spot at the mall, and every attempt fails. Gumball decides to try to trick the security guards into sorting it out for them, but let's just say this did not go so well for the security guard.
Yeah, son, park her up, will you? And be careful with the paint job. It costs more than you make it a year.
Assaulting the security guard, letting him bleed out, and patching him up with spare change is right up Gumball's alley. Never taking responsibility, always being careless, savage as ever. But in the last moment in the 69% category, he tries to turn someone into an extremely lazy person, just like his dad. And for this, Larry becomes his target once again. Poor Larry has been assaulted one too many times, and might just give up in this episode. In the laziest, Richard bet Gumball and Darwin that he's the laziest person in the whole town, and takes them to find their mission: find someone lazier. After talking to some of the seniors of Elmore, they landed on Larry as their contestant to beat their father in the lazy off. What's their strategy to convince him to be the laziest person alive? Follow him absolutely everywhere and screaming at him to stop working. That's it. That's the entire plan. It seems to be quite an effective strategy when Larry loses his job because of it. It doesn't stop there though. They keep stalking Larry, making him go crazy. When they appear in the back of his car out of nowhere, he'd rather leap out of his moving car than spend another second near them. Going on even more after this shows that he has no regard for how another person is feeling at all. And they went one step further. They ruined Larry's proposal to his girlfriend by making Larry finally snap. All of this in a single day, for a laziness bet that Larry wasn't even a part of, when in fact he did not want to have anything to do with it. Up until now, Gumball has been a nuisance, a bully, and a homewrecker. But at 100% savageness, it seriously stops being about pranks and starts being about actual psychopathy. This is the level where Gumball proves how little it takes for him to stop seeing people as living beings. A prime example of his savagery at 100% is when he decided to turn a fellow student into an experiment for his own curiosity. During a swimming lesson in the recipe, Coach tells Anton to jump into the pool. Despite Gumball's attempts to save him, Anton, being a slice of bread, made him soggy and eventually disintegrated. However, the very next day, Gumball and Darwin are shocked to see Anton back at school looking completely fine. This is when they realize that something's up and become obsessed with finding out how he survived. Gumball saw it as a challenge. Instead of just asking Anton like Darwin suggested, Gumball decides to scientifically make sure that Anton is immortal. This leads to the brutal scenes where Gumball repeatedly tries to kill Anton 50 times in a row using various methods just to see him reappear every time. Gumball goes on to immorality by murdering him 50 times in a row, essentially treating a living classmate like a lab rat. Gumball and Darwin eventually follow Anton home and discover that his parents can pop out a new slice of him with a magic toaster every time he dies. The worst part isn't even the violence, it's his attitude. He does all of this simply out of boredom, just like we saw with his social justice attack on Carmen or his torture of Larry. Gumball has an insane ability to detach from his empathy if it means satisfying his curiosity. If the Anton massacre showed Gumball's actions fueled by his boredom and lack of empathy, the next 100% moment in the episode The Revolt shows just how cruel he can be. In this, Darwin believes that he can help out the household applications and objects of Elmore understand why they're being mistreated and say that they should follow their own passions instead. After countless efforts from Darwin, they ultimately realize how little their lives mean because of Gumball. He does this by showing the following video.
Then what happens to us?
He heartlessly shows the appliances what happens to them when they're no longer of use to people. He pulls out a video on his phone showing human waste and appliance destruction, where hundreds of toasters and vacuums are being crushed, shredded, and trashed into landfills. He was showing them that to society, they are entirely replaceable plastic. To truly drive that point home, Gumball's phone lags for a second while playing the video.
I'll just order a new one. Thanks, Larry. Won't be needing this anymore.
By doing this, Gumball forces every appliance in the room to realize that he does not see them as friends, enemies, or even living beings. They are simply a tool worth a few bucks, which he will execute at the moment they stop being convenient. But if you thought the past episodes were savage, the last 100% moment, which comes in the episode The Saint, proves that Gumball can be an actual supervillain when he's motivated. Most people would be happy to have a nice friend like Alan, who even goes the extra mile to protect Gumball when he gets in trouble with the librarian. But Gumball finds his positivity so annoying that he spends an entire episode trying to find Alan's breaking point. He even says,
Why on earth would you want to do that?
For science! And because the people deserve to know! And because I got nothing else to do today.
Gumball starts going after Alan's reputation. He goes on Alan's account and posts,
Oh my
gosh, why are there so many drawn people in Elmore? Go back to your flat country and stop ruining our economy. Nobody likes it too, DS.
This instantly turns the entire school against Alan, spamming him with endless dislikes. He goes on to frame Alan for cheating by fabricating photos of him kissing girls, boys, Banana Joe, and even a toilet. Then he shows them to Carmen to force a breakup. When that doesn't work, Gumball steals Alan's lunch, eating his last meatball right in front of him. This was a move that Gumball considers the worst part of the list, but the absolute peak of his cruelty was when he sells Alan's parents to a clown after getting his hopes up about a surprise. He forced Alan to watch his own parents suffer for entertainment. Gumball casually lists these horrible things out at the end of the episode, feeling no remorse. Even when he eventually apologizes, you realize that Gumball has the capacity to ruin someone's life just because he was bored and had nothing else to do. We thought Gumball's savagery in The Saint definitely topped all of his savage moments, attacking someone's family, torturing them, and constantly harassing a person just because he was too perfect. So what do you think of Gumball's most savage moments in this video? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and click the video on screen. I'm sure you'll love it.